makes it so difficult for you to do research? If artificial intelligence cut off your time for that time, because time is a finite, we can't expand it, but we can manage it. So part of AI is managing your time. The other thing is direction. So what we need, we simply need a system to clear the noise and a system that helps you to forge forward without a lot of too much distraction. PubMed pours at least 1 million citations into the internet every year. What that means is that as a clinician, as a medic, you have to go through about 20, 30 papers daily to stay current. If you're teaching maybe diabetes, things have changed. Medications have changed. The way we treat patients have changed. Guidelines are changing every day. And so it's difficult to go through all that noise to get what you actually need. So AI basically gives you that edge because it identifies the evidence that you need without a lot of hullabaloo around, without a lot of distractions. It can give you the insights, it can give you the gaps that you require, and gives you a summary so that you don't go through all the materials just to get one or two things. But this is something else. 21% of faculty are using artificial intelligence. It's 21%. And that is in comparison with 85% of your students. So if you're a teacher, if you're a medical lecturer, 85% of your students are already using artificial intelligence, and this could be more. So I don't know, are you in the 21% or are you in the 79% who are totally clueless? Because if you are teaching students and you're supervising them in research, believe you me, they will bring you AI written material and you will sign because you do not know where it came from. You do not know how artificial intelligence writes materials. Because when they do write, you would just say this is well written and it's good enough. But maybe it is copyrighted. So let us be part of that 21%. So I don't know where you are, but if you're not among the 21%, then you need to rethink because your students are not asking for permission. They are not waiting for you. They are moving, they're forging ahead of you. You can cut 50 to 80% of your time simply by using artificial intelligence. And if you look specifically at research, for example, proposal writing, proposal development, where you would take about 20 hours, you can now simply get into 4 hours. That is cutting 75% of the time. And if you look at literature review, because I know literature review is the one that really takes a lot of time because you have to comb through a lot of papers. From 40 hours, you can cut it down to 4 hours. That is 90% reduction in time. So if you're not using artificial intelligence, then you're really missing out on the time that you could use for getting other jobs, going for holidays, mentoring or mentorship of your students, or staying with your family. And then not just research, but you can see other things, content creation, examination, grading students, administration work. You can automate it. You can automate those minutes. You can ask for summaries from your meetings. So the question is no longer, should you use artificial intelligence? But the question is, how much longer can you afford not to? So if you're not using it already, then this is your window, this is your reset, this is the time. So what are we going to cover today? Two things. There's so many things in research that you can plug in artificial intelligence and plug in ethically. It doesn't have to be unethical, and we'll show you how you can use it ethically. So we're going to plug in on just looking for research gaps and then literature review. We'll do it hands-on so that you can also practice. And when you go back today, back home, or wherever you are, you're already home anyway, wherever you are, you can now plug in. So we will zero in on research gaps and literature review. And this is a hands-on. Please make sure that you have your laptop somewhere with internet so that you can plug in. And just before we get to that, some of the tools that we use for research, there are many. And I'm telling you, the techies are not sleeping because every day new tools are coming up. But there are some very good tools for research. One is Elicit, Concensus, Science, Cloudy, and then of course Notebook for knowledge management. So there's so many tools. But like I've said, today we are only going to tackle just two. That is Concensus and Cloudy, because you don't need too many tools. You just need to tackle one or two, one for maybe certain things and another for certain things, and you're good to go. So at this point in time, I want to call on Francis Kimani. He's an AI expert. He has done a lot of research in this area. So Francis, I want you to come on board. So let me stop sharing so that you can come on board, introduce yourself, and then carry on the next phase.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So thank you for that, Dr. Lucy. So my name is Francis Kimani. I'm an AI expert, as well. I'm a researcher and a statistician. So research is what I love doing. And I'm going to take you through this session whereby we are going to interact one-on-one with some of the two specific tools that you've chosen for this session. And we are going to learn how you can be able to identify the research gap and do your literature review in minutes. This is the workflow that you are going to work with. And we are going to look at two specific tools, that is Concensus and Cloudy AI. So Concensus is more of an academic search engine, and it goes through millions of peer-reviewed articles, and it gets these articles from journals like Sage, Willix, PubMed, and Semantic Scholars, Data and Francis, and amongst others. So it has access to so many articles, and you can also add in your settings whereby you can add your school library if you have a school library when you want maybe to access those journals that are paid for or those journals that are not free access. So we're also going to look at Cloudy AI. This is a very important and advanced AI tool that we can use to generate, and it's the one we are going to use to generate our literature review. And in a snapshot, what we are going to do, we are going to go from identifying a research gap and doing the literature review. So this is how the flow is going to go. So we need to have or identify a research question. So this is an area maybe whereby you feel you have some questions that you need answered. So after you've identified the research question, it's important you check how relevant it is, because at the end of the day, based the identification of its relevance, you are going to check using the available resources, that is the available articles that have been published. And this we are going to do using Consensus AI, because as I've said, the beauty with Consensus AI is that it checks against peer-reviewed articles. So that means you are checking against high-quality journals. And after that, we are going to identify the research gap. And then we're going to use Cloudy AI to come up with possible topics for our literature review. It's going to help us identify possible topics for our literature review. And then after that, we are going to connect the two tools together. And then after that, we are going to, there's something called a skill. This is like a set of instructions that tells Cloudy how to perform a specific task. And in this case, the task will be a literature review. It's like a predefined set of instruction that has been generated in Consensus. And it tells Cloudy like this is how you are going to do the literature review. So we are going to download the skill and upload it. I'll change my screen and go to the software itself so that we can be able to see how the software looks like, or how the AI tool looks like. So we'll start by looking at Cloudy, and so that we can see the interface. So you just need to go to Cloudy. So this is how the Cloudy interface looks like. So we have like where you type in your prompt, from here. And if you have not logged in via, you've not logged in via your account under Chrome, it will prompt you to log in via your account. So you don't need to pay. It's free of charge. It has a free option, but there is other paid subscription, but you're going to use the free option. So here is where you can be able to type your prompt, and maybe we can try like maybe you have interest in the area of something to do with in tuberculosis, and I would love to come up with some research questions, some relevant research questions to guide me maybe in identification of things like research gap and so on. So once you execute the command, it's you give it time to load. So I hope all of us are able to access their Cloudy AI. So this is where you do the prompting, and from here you're able to also do some other activities which you'll see how to in future how to connect with other AI tools like Consensus. Here we'll add the skills. You can also add a project. You can create a project and store the whole workflow in it. You can use a screenshot. Maybe you want to search for something that is in form of a pictures. You can upload a file or a photo. So this is where you go there, you access the consensus AI form. So you just need to just select the first link that you get after searching. So this is how consensus looks like also. It has a very easy to use interface. And when you're doing searches, you can use these as the place where you key in your prompt, and you can be able to, the advantage is it when you are working with different articles, you can be able to filter. Maybe we can use the same prompt that you used from Cloudy. So so the beauty with it is that it when you're doing the search, it always gives you different option. You can use the deep search, or you can use the this option of copies. So these are the different references that have been different journals that have been referenced for that specific questions. We have like this is the now the output that has been generated by the tool. So we can see like key TB research areas, example of questions you could study. Tuberculosis is an epidemiology diagnosis, so TB research topics, an example of questions. So we have the focus area, you can focus on diagnosis. Here's an example of a research question. How does adding AI-assisted chest X-ray to Genie expert change time to TB diagnosis in rural clinics? So these are the things. So these are the different references that have been cited for this specific research question. So you can see even the year is here there. You can see the year. If you want to access the full text, you can access it, the PDF here. You can even chat with the specific source that is here and ask a few questions from it. Maybe summarize what the article talks about in AI, so you can use it like that. You're able to see what it's all about. So this is a summary advising fight against. So this is the name of the article, and this is the summary. So you can chat with the article directly, and that's how you're able to work with the two tools. I hope every one of us has been able to go to their tool and do one or the three things, so that once we are doing now the actual task that we are going to accomplish in this session, you won't have any struggle. Anyone who has not been able to access the two tools, maybe they can raise their hand, or so that we can be able to see whether there is an issue, so that we can proceed in the next step. Okay, so what I'm saying, this is how you do it. You just need to go to your favorite browsers because I know we have different preferences. You just need to type Consensus AI and just enter. So you pick the first one. You can see the one with this specific icon, which is their logo. And once you select on it, and you can, if you've not logged in via your Chrome profile, you'll need to log in so that you can be able to access it. It will prompt you to log in. So you can just log in with your Google profile, and then you can be able to access Consensus. So we can see it has so many areas, it has my library. So this is whereby you can be able to add your to add your sources in and store them in a library. You can do this. Maybe you can import them from your school library, articles that you've identified are relevant, and so on. This is the history. These are the things that I've been searching for. And then we have, so these are the most recent prompts that I've used, paper in research and so on. So the beauty with it is that you can be able to access so many peer-reviewed articles. And for your library, you can be able even to import them from, if you've saved them as a PDF, you can add them here. If you have them as PDF, you can add them here. You can paste the DOIs, that is the digital object identifier. You can paste them as PDF. You can import from Zotero. Zotero is a referencing manager that we usually use, but to use it, you need to create a key from Zotero and then paste it from here. So this is how the interface looks. It's quite easy to follow. There's something called application programming interfaces, the APIs. So what they've done, I think for Consensus, the currently available APIs that is easy to use is when you're using Zotero as the reference manager. I know Mendy is also another reference manager and I've used it. So for Consensus, it has been integrated with Mendy. That's the one you can use. Sorry, Zotero. Here it is. That's the one you can use if you want to import. So you need to paste a key that you're going to get from. You go to your after you've created your Zotero account, you generate a key which you paste here so that you can be able to connect and be able to import your references that you've saved from in Zotero. For Cloudy, I said you need just to go to cloudy.ai. So I'll just open a new tab. So you just need to go on cloudy.ai. So you can be able to do your prompting from this point. You can maybe search something to do with the impact of screen time on sleeping patterns. So it's loading the tools. Claude wants to use such academic reports papers from Consensus. So I've connected the two so that I'm trying to leverage the advantage with Consensus because Consensus is able to give me high quality journals. So I have already connected them. So I'll show you later how to connect the two. So that's why I'm seeing there's this prompt. Claude wants to use such academic papers from Consensus. So you can say always allow. So it will get the references from Consensus as it generates the output that I've just interacted with here. So I can see here is a research backed overview how screen time affect or disrupt scripts. So this is how it works. So as I had said earlier, the first thing we need to do is identify a research question and prompt Consensus after we've identified. So the question we need to ask ourselves, do you have a clear research question? If you have yes, we can proceed to prompt Consensus. If you don't have one, we can brainstorm with Crowdy AI first. So this is how we are going to prompt Consensus for the research question. So I think I would love us to confirm if we have the research question so that we can just go together one-on-one. As we go through this, we do it practically, and then we move on, do a bit of brainstorming and come up with a few. Maybe you can say I have an interest in a certain area. I have an interest in the use of AI in something to do with in sports. Maybe I can just do something like that. Uh, maybe we can ask it to generate a few research questions that are relevant to this area. Effects. So there is one effect of aerobic exercises for heart failure patient. So those are, so for maybe we can we'll pick one and work with it. So we can see here research questions in AI sports. So we can see one, how accurately can deep learning models predict athletic performance outcomes compared to traditional statistical methods? We have another one on injury prevention. To what extent can AI-driven mechanical data analysis reduce sport-related injuries? You have tactical decisions. How do coaches in elite sport perceive and integrate AI? Can AI? So these are the different questions, and at least it has given us the topic area under which it falls. We can see another one on training load and recovery. How well can AI assisted integrate AI models integrate multimodal data to optimize training load and recovery for elite athletes? So these are some of them. So you can see it tells us these questions span performance, ethics, coaching, and methodology, making them relevant for sports science, computer science, and public policy research alike. Would you like to help in developing any of these into a full research proposal or literature review? So you can also do it from here. So I would love us to pick. I'll pick one from the ones that you guys are typing. I can see there is so far we have one on the effects of aerobic exercises for heart failure patients. And then we have another one. We have another one also on, do medical students who use simulation only learn the diagnostic process using the stethoscope function perform better than those who trained in bedside setup? So that is another one from Beatrice. So we can see there's another one from Musangi. So how does TB-related stigma affect health-seeking behavior in higher burden communities? That's another one. We have prevalence of suprachodra humeral fractures in children aged 5 to 13 years. That is another one. What role do community health workers play in improving TB direction? So I believe the rest of you are still typing them. We can have like this one, we have the effect of aerobic exercise for heart failure. So we can copy this one. I can copy it. We'll go to consensus. So I will paste it here in the. So I'll put it in the form of a question. How how does aerobic aerobic exercises degrees? What is the effect of aerobic exercises for heart failure patients? So we are going to, whatever research question you've identified, let's do this together. So put it in the form of a question, and then we can be able to prompt consensus. So we are going to execute the command. So we can see it's retrieving sources. So we can see so far like 1.2 million sources, 19.7 million have been retrieved. So the eligible ones so far there are 90 something. So results, we have 19.7 million. So we have different articles here that have been identified, 2025, 2018. sources, because some of them would not make so much sense. Like we have this one for 1999, based on how much times has moved and how dynamic research is. We can filter out and only pick those sources that are a bit latest. Those are maybe within 5 years time frame. So what we can do, we can use the filter. We have the filter option here, and then here you can filter in terms of number of years. We can maybe go for those journals that have been published within the last 5 years, and then we can pick articles that are high ranking or high quality journals or high impact journals. We can use Q1 and Q2. We can select this one and this one. And then we can also have those journals that have been cited in this way. You can say maybe they've been cited in 2 or 3 articles. That is another part that we can adjust. We can also look at those journals that have had different methodology. Maybe we want to look at those journals that only were on maybe meta-analysis, systematic review. You can be able to pick the study design that was implemented. You can look at only those journals maybe which looked at 100 plus, had a minimum of 100 as the sample size. And then you can even change the field of study. Maybe you want only those journals that are only medical related or something like so. So you can use those that are from the medicine or maybe psychology and so on. So you can do much when you are filtering, so that you can get maybe those sources that are very specific to what you are looking for. You can even choose countries. You can choose countries from where the journals that you want the research was done from. Maybe you want to pick only those that were done within a certain region. So that is something you can also filter with. So for now, we can just apply the 3 filters that we have selected. And now we can look at the output. So we have, like, based on the question that we have asked, aerobic exercise in heart failure is a cornerstone of cardiac rehabilitation and so on. Key benefits for heart failure patients. We have the functional capacity. We have aerobic and combined exercises. We have quality of life. We have cardiac function and vascular, optional dose, and so on. We have special safety special group, and you have the conclusion. For people with heart failure, regular structured aerobic exercises, often combined with resistance training, improves exercise capacity, physical function, and quality of life, and can favorably influence cardiac outcomes. So these are conclusive outcomes that based on the prompt that you have used for this one. Maybe I would love to see maybe the others based on the prompting that you've done. Maybe we can see what you've been able to get. So we are going to you can choose the kind of search that you want. There is also, for the paid version, there is one called Pro. So you can either do the deep or the other options for the Pro, but that one comes mostly with the specifically the paid version, and you can also choose only for medical and so on. So once you place in the prompt, you can be able to select which kind of search you want the software to do for you. So these are among the different. So you can be able to also graph, like, the how the different sources are interconnected using the consensus AI. You just need to put the research question in the form of a question like this one: what role do community health workers play in improving TB detection? So the beauty with consensus is that you're able to get the consensus meter. So hereby you can see, based on this research question, does combined aerobic and resistance training improve functional capacity more than aerobic intervention in chronic heart failure? We have the consensus meter, whereby like 60% of the journals that have been, we had a total of 23 journals that we were reviewed, and 65% of them said yes. 13% said it's a possibility. 9 had a mixed reaction, and 13% were the findings were no. And it tells you how it did the search. A comprehensive search was conducted, over 70 million research papers indexed, so and so, including semantic scholars. So such strategy, so retrieved the eligible one, those who are which journals that were included, results, study design and perception, the compliance of LADO, LCTs, meta, so those are the different methodology, functional capacity, quality of life and daily function, safety, adherence, results. So this is a, you can map sometimes you can use a graph to view the mapping, and here are the different papers and the contributors and so on. So the evidence robustly supports the integration of resistance training into standard cardiac rehabilitation. So based on this, you can go a step further. So you can see the claim and the strength of evidence that exists. So that is strong combined. So no significant difference in central cardiac remodeling. So the strength of evidence is moderate. Optimal intensity duration remains unclear. So conclusion, in summary, combined aerobic resistance exercise offer clear advantage over aerobic only protocols, improving so and so. So here are some of the research gaps that we can look into. We can look at the topic of this, the muscle strength. So these are quite some areas. So future research should focus on optimizing exercises prescription by modality. So we have the questions and some of the open question. How does long-term adherence differ between home-based versus center-based? And so in conclusion, combined aerobic should be considered a standard component of cardiac rehabilitation for CF. So the beauty with this is that we just asked a simple prompt and we've been able to gather so much information. We have some of the research gaps here. We can see. So one of the most one we can see there is one on cardiac remodeling. The consensus meter compares the results from different articles. You can see from here, does combined aerobic and resistance training improve functional capacity more than aerobic only intervention in chronic heart failure? So based on the articles that have been reviewed, like for the 23 articles, 65% of them agree with this statement and they say yes. The evidence in 13% of them is more of possible. Possibly means that the evidence is not very much conclusive. And then we have others which have mixed responses, whereby maybe at some point there is the yes and the no. And then we have 13% of them which, according to them, it's no, it's purely no. So sometimes you might even use this consensus meter to guide you, because sometimes you might find out there is so much for a certain research question. You can find out you are having maybe majority of the results that have been reviewed are giving out mixed reaction. So that means it's an area, and especially after you filter in, you make sure you filtered in so that you have the most latest articles, so that you don't just have any other articles. You have the most recent research or literature. So once you find out that there is so much mixed reaction, maybe in this case we found out that 65% was in mixed reaction. So that means that is an area that still has some there's need for more exploration or more research on it, so that we can have a bit of clarity. So the next step, so this was how we use the research question to see how relevant it is. We've been able to see whether it has been researched on, and from there it has also helped us identify an existing gaps here. We can see the gaps that exist here, research gaps. So you can just pick based on how you feel it's an area that also you have interest in, because but when you're doing research, they usually say the best way or the easiest way to be able to complete your research is also doing something that you feel is more of interest to you, so that it gives you the drive. So after that, we can be able to maybe work with this on cardiac remodeling as the area of interest that we are going to explore in our literature review. So before that, so we can go back to our slides, so we can see the next step that you are supposed to get. So here we had the research question. So the filters exist for the references. This is like the inclusion and the inclusion criteria for those who can relate with that, because not every article you realize maybe when doing your research will not give you the best output based on the study that you're doing or the area of focus that you're or your research question. So sometimes you might feel based on the research question I have, it's more medical than other fields. So you might make sure the references that have been accessed, they are only medical related ones. So that's why you come up to the filter. And then you might feel also you don't want articles that were published like 1999, because I had said research is dynamic. You find out that or those articles which were done in the past, maybe the information that as they had published is a bit, it's outdated. So you use the meter, you can use this one for years, or you can just say past 5 years, and it gives you the same, or past 2 years. You see that it's changing. So then you can look at the quality of the journals. They are high impact journals, and based on different, there's that need of categorizing journals. So you can select the quality of journals that you want for your peer reviewed. So for me, I had selected Q1 and Q2. You can select even the others there. You can select journals based on, you want maybe journals that have already been cited in other publications. So you can have journals that have been cited at least once, twice, and so on, based on what you're looking for. You can also exclude preprints, those maybe that have not already been printed. You can ask the paper. Here is whereby you can be able to interact one-on-one with the paper. You can only decide to include only those open access journals. Sometimes you might not be able to access journals that maybe you don't want to pay to access journals, because there are those ones which are paid for. So for the methodology, you can decide which kind of maybe you want articles that only have a specific, maybe you want an analysis, you want observational studies. So these are things maybe like cross-sectionals and so on. Maybe you want case reports and so on. Maybe you want articles that have a sample size maybe of 100 and more and so on. So these are among the the different filters that you can use, or the inclusion and exclusion criteria that exist. Maybe you want journals from a specific field. You only want medical related journals or psychology related journals. It matters with the field of specialization that maybe you are working on, and maybe you want journals that are only printed in a specific country or region. So this is where you pick a specific country and so on. So you can see you can pick journals that were printed only in Kenya, just select and apply the filter. So if you add, you see the filters are increasing. If I select Kenya, you can see we have 5 filters. If I remove it, we only have 4. So it will just pick, because we've not filtered anything here for the countries, it will pick as long as the journal is relevant that has been printed anywhere across different countries or regions. So as I was saying, we use the consensus meters and paper volume so that we can be able to see how relevant our research question is. Because at the end of the day, when you're doing research, you don't want to go into an area whereby maybe so much has been done in that area, and it's like it's an area that has been over researched, and there is so much clear findings on that, or maybe it's an area that has not so much literature in it, so that we might start struggling maybe to get the relevance resources when you're doing your literature review and so on. So maybe you can see things like recency, how recent. Use consensus to assess whether your topic has a sufficient academic depth, recency, they are recent, and traction before investing a full review. Yeah, it's good to check how relevant it is to what you are doing. So you can identify a research gap in the space between what is known and what needs to be explored. So you can look at in the finding, you can also tell it to create a table like this, whereby you can be able to see the population gap, maybe which population has not been explored, because you might find out research has been done in on maybe to do with diabetes, but maybe they've not looked at the aging population. So you might find out these are gaps that needs to be explored. Maybe you can find out most of the studies that have done, there is a methodological gap. Maybe they've used outdated tools on all longitudinal, qualitative, or mixed method design. So you might need to use mixed method so that you can be able to do triangulation and come up with more relevant and comprehensive findings. You can do context gap. You can identify whether there's a context gap. Finding may not transfer across cultures or sectors or time periods. Maybe the last study that was done was so many years ago, and maybe you discover the results might not be conclusive based on the changes that have come with technology and this, and maybe in the medical area. So you can find out variable gaps, key moderating or validating variable have been overlooked in prior studies, those studies that have been done. You can find contradiction gaps, conflicting results. So this is what I was talking about earlier. You might find out when the consensus meters, most of the findings, like in the other one, we saw there was clearly like majority of the NINI said yes, it has an impact. Cardiology, aerobic has an impact to deal with cardiological issues. But you might find out maybe there is so much mixed findings. Maybe 60% of the journals were in the mixed category, maybe yes or no. So it was not very clear. So that is how you can identify one. And if you are not able to get that specific part that displays the gaps directly, like the one we have here, you can go in the direction of even prompting Concensus to help you identify existing research gaps under these research questions. If you are not able to get like this, research gaps in this way. So the next step is use Crowd AI to find possible literature topic. So what we'll do, we'll use Cloudy to find possible literature topics. Since we have our research gap, the research gap you've identified, you can ask Cloudy to suggest. So I'm researching. So we can use these prompts. So I'll paste them in the chat box. You just say I'm researching on topic. This is maybe the topic of that you're looking for. Like for the case that I was, maybe it's the topic on it's to do with aerobics and so on. So based on this gap, the gap that I've identified, what are the possible 5 literature review angles I could explore, generate subtopics should cover in literature review on the topic, focusing what key themes, debates, and so on. So we can use the first one, replace it with the gaps and the topic that you are working on. So we go to Cloudy. So you need to just use the prompt. I'm researching on the topic. So the topic in this case is based. So here you use the topic that you use. Let me first of all look at this gap on cardiac remodeling. So my topic is on this. So so it's working on it. So after some time, it will be able. So since mine have connected, it's being able to search from consensus. So here and 5 liter review angles we could explore. So we have exercise intensity and reverse left ventricle remodeling. You can look at molecular and mitochondrial mechanism underlying exercise-induced modeling. You can look at the role of non-coding RNAs in exercise mediated cardiac modeling. You can look at calcium handling restoration and comparative efficiency of exercise. Each of these angles has both existing evidence to build from and genuinely resolved questions to frame as you review contribution. Would you like to help me develop the research strategy I'm trying for this? So these are among the So what you can do, you can just copy them and store them somewhere. Since we are going to use these when we are the actually review as the based on how you feel relevant they are. Maybe if you feel you could change it, you could prompt the Nini in a certain direction. But this is a good starting point. So make sure you have those. You can store the topics in our document somewhere because we'll use them when we are doing the prompting for the literature review at the end of this section. So we go back to the slides. So after that, now we need to do a bit of connecting Concensus and Cloud AI. The reason why we are connecting them is because we can be able to leverage the advantage that Consensus offers us by getting high quality research journals. And we can be able to automated gaps. What gaps do you see? So evidence rating results in Cloudy results include consensus trend rating, strong moderate, yes, citation retrieval, crowded returns, digital object identifier, authors, and publications. So this is why we are connecting them so that you can leverage the advantages that comes with the two of them. So what you are going to do is to connect them. And to do that, so from there, you can able to see add connectors. No add connectors there. And then from there, you can be able to search connectors from the app there. So just type consensus, sorry, type consensus. So there it is, select it, add, place the add option. So connect up there up on your top right corner. Top right corner, you have the connect option. In the same on the same two pop-up, on the same, yeah, there. Just place it. So relaunch the tab there. So connect here. Let's go to manage connector. So GitHub not connected, but I can see connect consensus or is already connected. So it's okay. Yours is already connected. So after that, the next step is to do to download the skills so that we can use them to do the literature review. So the skills in simple, they are just a set of instructions that tell Crowdy how to perform the specific task. In this case, the task is the literature review. So type consensus MCP. First one, the first option. So you can see we have the curriculum development workflow. This one, when you upload a course outline and get a recommended reading list of recent peer-reviewed papers mapped to your learning. So we have also the literature review helper, which you are going to use. Learn a search query, build a Boolean search strategy, identify seminal papers and surface key themes. So this one is going to help us learn a literature review on mindfulness intervention. So we also have a grant research skill. This one identifies what makes your research idea novel, then finds. So it's based, these skills, you can use them based on different objectives that you want to achieve. Maybe if you are doing a grant research proposal, you can use this skill. You can download it and use it. So in this case, I want us to download the literature review helper. So it has been downloaded. So let's go back to Cloudy AI. So we are going to add the skill. So use the plus button here. So we are going skill, manage skills, manage skills. So in here, we are going to add a skill. So just go, so we can browse skills, create skills. So you can upload a skill and upload it from where you've saved it after. So it has been saved in your local machine. So we've just added it, we have it there. So we had our research gap, we had identified it. So I want us to use this specific prompt that I'm going to put in the chat box. Just copy it. So what you can do, I want you to change the topic and put your research gap, the research gap that you had identified. Can you put together a starting point for me based on the following topics? If you have them, you can use them at that point. So as you can see, it's leading the literature review helper skills, leading the structured portion of the skill so that you can be able, now let's learn the initial. So you can see we are using sources from Consensus. That is the Consensus meaning. Yeah, allow always. Place allow always. Tell it to use, yeah. So it's searching through Consensus. So it will take some time because it's learning through the different, like the different sources and the different. So it does it in stages, search academic paper search, so that it needs to interact. The beauty with using Consensus, it's able to interact directly with the papers, so you don't have to worry about AI hallucination. For those who have used maybe ChatGTP, most of the times, once in a while, it cooks the references. So I think once you give it time, it will be able to generate the literature review for you, so that once it's there, you can be able to review it. And once you review it, you'll be able to see how it looks like and the areas that you might need to adjust. So I would love to, once at that point, maybe once you're able to read through it and see what is there, then you can be able to see where to improve and where to add, and then from there, because as much as we are using the AI, it needs a bit of human thinking and changes so that it can fit the nini. And then for those who have used, you can now use the humanizers to humanize the content, because most of the time AI generated content, there's a certain percentage that is allowed. So I think I'll stop at that point. So you will be able to get the document and then you can review it. So that's how we can leverage the power of the two tools to be able to come up with a literature review within minutes.